Do roll call for this minutes.
Yes, thank you. Anna Barbieri,
Here.
Clark Bullen, Emily Gray,
Here.
Greg Shelton, Jared Henderson.
Here, if you can hear me.
That's perfect. Keith Zusbaum.
Here.
Lori Stringham. Marcy Houseman. Matt Holton. Vic Suffery. Nicole Handy. Here. Patrick Schaefer.
Here.
Robert Pignon.
Here.
Tessa Stitzer, excused. Zach Jacob.
Hello.
I'm here.
Okay,
Hey, real quick, sorry, Matt Holton just joined. So I am here.
it's here, great. All right, we'd now like to open the meeting for public comments. Any members of the public wish to make comments? See, as there is none, close the meeting for public comments. Then we'll move on to Board of Trustees business. We have a number of new board members we'd like to welcome to the Woodward Board. We have Nicole Handy from Mill Creek City Council, Clark Bullen from Murray City Council, and Jared Henderson from Harriman City Council. And Katarina, we're going to administer the oath of office. You go.
Will you please raise your right hand? Yes, definitely. I state your name.
I, Nicole Handy,
Having been appointed to the office of
having been appointed to the office of Sunday Marine
Wasatch Front Waste and Recycling District
Wasatch Front Waste and Recycling District
Board of Trustees.
Board of Trustees,
Do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support, obey, and defend
that I will support, obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Utah,
and the Constitution of the State of Utah,
and that I will discharge the duties of my office
and I will discharge the duties of my office
with fidelity.
with fidelity.
Welcome, Nicole. Clark, it's not clear, is that right?
Oh,
Okay.
can you see me online?
Oh,
Yeah, I can.
yeah, all right, can we do that remotely?
Yes.
Right.
A little trickier than close attention. Hey, Clark. I'm
Hi.
Katarina. Will you
Hi.
please raise your hand and repeat after me? I state your name,
I, Clark Bullen,
having been appointed to the office of
having been appointed to the office of
Wasatch Front Waste and Recycling District
Wasatch Front Waste and Recycling District
Board of Trustees,
Board of Trustees,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support, obey, and defend
that I will support, obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Utah,
the Constitution of the State of Utah,
and that I will discharge the duties of my office
I will discharge the duties of my office
with fidelity.
with fidelity.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Welcome, Clark, glad to have you. Jared
Thanks.
Henderson. Like to administer your oath of office?
I can hear you, but I'm having issues with the camera.
Are we okay to do that? Okay, great, let's do it.
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name,
I, Jared Henderson,
having been appointed to the office of
have been appointed to the office of
Wasatch Front Waste and Recycling District
Wasatch Front Waste and Recycling District
Board of Trustees,
Board of Trustees,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support, obey, and defend
that I will support, obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Utah,
and the Constitution of the State of Utah,
and that I will discharge the duties of my office
I will discharge the duties of my office
with fidelity.
with fidelity.
Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Welcome to the board. All right, so the next item on the agenda is a little weird for me to conduct. We need to appoint 2026 board chairperson. I've been the vice chair for the last year, and so it has been the tradition of the board to have the vice chair transition into the board chair position, but we need a motion.
I'll make that motion. This Keith, I'll make that motion.
Thank you.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, all right. So I'm the new board chair. All right, so now we need to have nominations and appointment for the 2026 board vice chair position. So we have a situation that we haven't had in the district before, where we've received several volunteers who've expressed interest in the vice chair position. So because we have local candidates, what we'd like to do is to have an open election of members of the board, possibly through multiple rounds if we don't get a majority with the first vote. So for each round, every board member will be called by name and asked to state which nominee that they support. If one individual receives the majority of the vote in the first round, then that will be it. If not, the person with the least amount of votes will be eliminated, and then we'll go until we have somebody with a majority. Yes,
How much for that secret ballot thing?
it's the open meeting, so we
You need to record your votes. so
Yeah.
there's no way to do it secretly.
yeah. So, so it's the best way to give everyone a chance, but also we need to maintain transparency as a public organization. So, the names of the individuals who have expressed interest are Greg Shelton, Keith Zuspin, Marcy Hausman, and Laurie Stringham. Does anyone on that list wish to withdraw their name, or does anyone wish to add their name? Okay,
I have a comment to share, if that's okay. Are you able
Go
to hear
ahead.
me?
yeah,
okay.
that's great.
It was shared, I think, in one of the emails, or maybe a couple of them, that the preference for the vice president is in-person attendance to the meetings. And I thought I had replied that I'm not able to make that commitment. I can commit to being at meetings, but being in person, my schedule is constantly changing and travel comes up unexpectedly. And so I'm not able to commit to in person. So I thought my name was going to already be withdrawn for that reason. So since it hasn't, I'm happy to withdraw. Simply, again, happy to serve, willing to serve, but not able to make the commitment to be in person for every meeting.
Definitely understand and appreciate that, Marcy. I think we just weren't clear for sure if you wanted your name withdrawn, but we will withdraw that. Withdraw your
Thank
name.
you.
Anybody else who wants to add or withdraw their name? Okay, so
Restate the names one
Yeah.
more time. Yeah.
So again, we've got Greg Shelton, Keith Zuspin, and Laurie Stringham as our nominees. So when Katerina calls your name, please state your vote for the vice chair. And then Katerina, you're recording the votes, is that correct? Okay.
This is fun.
Anna Barbieri,
Lori?
Clark Bullen,
Laurie Stringham.
Emily Gray,
Abstain.
Greg Shelton, Jared Henderson.
Laurie Stringham.
Keith Zusman.
I have to vote, sorry.
Lori Stringham. Marcy Houseman.
Lori Stringham,
Matt Wilton.
Laurie Stringham.
Nick Sudbury. Nicole Handy.
Can I also abstain? I guess I can. I mean, as someone who doesn't. Yeah, okay, then I'd like to abstain.
Patrick Schaefer.
Keith Zisman.
Robert Pignon.
Keith Zisman.
Tessa Stitzer, excused. Zach Jacob.
Keith. Can I make a comment?
What was that? Resolution.
Yep.
Just for conversation. So Lori is not on time every week or every month. And that concerns me if it needs to be in person.
Did I get it, Zach Jacob?
Yeah, Keith.
It's a tie. We'll keep going.
Okay,
Let's drop the others and we'll go.
all right.
Greg, I'm sorry to take more of a minute, so let's, Leah. There you go.
We did talk about just dropping the others on. Greg.
Yeah, right.
It's just me.
Yeah.
Don't have to rub it in.
Oh, right, we got that thing. Sorry, I'm slow. Okay.
Okay, so we're gonna do this again. So the choices are Lori Stringham or Keith Zusman. Okay.
Anna Barbieri.
Lori?
Clark Bullen.
Laurie Stringham.
Emily
Laurie
Gray.
Stringham.
Greg Shelton.
Keith.
Jared Henderson.
Laurie.
Keith Zusman.
Keith.
Lori Stringham. Marcy Houseman.
Lori Stringham,
Matt Bolton.
Laurie Stringham.
Nick Sudbury. Nicole Handy.
Abstain.
Patrick Schaefer.
Keith.
Robert Pignon.
Keith.
Tessa Stitzer, excused. Zach Jacob.
Keith.
Still time.
Okay.
How can that still be in touch?
Yeah.
I was the only one that changed my vote. I think we had an extra vote on mine. There's an extra vote.
Did yours or
Yes.
so did we get 2 extra votes this time?
You might have to know abstain.
I'm happy to vote and I will vote for attendance. So Keith, wait, if I need to, that's fine, I'll do that.
All right.
We didn't plan for that.
We covered every eventuality. All right, so are we good to say that Keith gets the majority of the votes and Nicole takes your votes? Okay, Keith, congratulations on being vice chair.
Bring some stuff out there.
Yeah.
Farm out.
You can do is just shove it in your trunk, get down here, this is.
So as Greg is completing his term now that he's here, as chair, we just want to thank him for his service. this is one of the positions that sometimes can be very symbolic and sometimes can have a lot more involved. And I know this last year, there's been a lot more involved in being the chair. And Greg has stepped up and done a fantastic job to advocate for the district and really look out for the needs for all of us, that we can live in a cleaner and healthier community for keeping our trash is picked up. So want to thank him for his service.
Thank you. I don't do speeches.
All right, okay, so moving on, we have a number of resolutions expressing appreciation to former board members. They are not here right now, so I think I'm gonna forego reading them, is that okay? They're not here. We do want to thank them for their service. We know that, everybody here is very busy and people take the time to come and all of these individuals that have attended regularly and made sure their voices heard and advocated to try to help the district be the best possible. We really appreciate their service as well. Can I get some motions to adopt these resolutions?
So moved.
Moving for one, or are you gonna move to adopt all three at once?
Can we
have a preference?
Can we adopt all three at once? Okay, so can you just clarify your motion?
Yes, thank you. Move to approve or adopt the resolutions 4438, 4439, and 4440.
Thank
I
you.
will second.
All right, good. We need to do roll call or can we,
No, those.
what was, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, those resolutions pass. Okay, moving on. So we have somebody retiring from employment, Larry Chibin, for 25 years of work at the district. Larry, is he here?
He's not, I can get a hold of him.
He's not here. There is, yes, so there is a resolution for Larry, for working for 25 years, appreciate his service as well. If he was here, we would have somebody say something. I know Dave was willing to say something, talk about Larry's time with the district. She will work on that. He's not here, so if I can get a motion, adopt the resolution that we give service.
So.
Second?
Second.
Okay, Patrick second. All right, all in favor for adopting resolution 4441?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No, she'll be right back.
Okay, all right. All right, we now have a training, especially as we have a bunch of new members. And then just, I think this is a good refresher for all of us as far as special district overview presentation. These are.
Great, thank you. This is a presentation or a training I've done on a smaller level with board members for various districts. This is the first time I've kind of expanded it into PowerPoint form, so you get to be the guinea pigs of this presentation. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Rachel Anderson. I'm the legal counsel here for the district. I am an attorney, obviously, and work for the local law firm Fabian Bancott, and I represent local district or special districts across the state of Utah. So you might see me around. I represent several districts in Salt Lake County. So I'm a regular face in the district world. Okay, next slide. So this presentation is intended as what is a special district, sort of generally. I will point out how this district works in a few key aspects, but this isn't intended necessarily as an intro to Wasatch Front Waste and Recycling District, which you'll get that training separately, I believe. So why do special districts exist? They provide specific public services. They are designed to provide regional services across municipal boundaries often. They're great at achieving economies of scale by being able to provide a service to a broader area. And it is also a standard form of Utah local government, which we'll get into in more depth as we go along. Next slide. I'm going to spend a few minutes on this one because I think it's one of the most important ones in clarifying what it is that we are here. These quotes come directly from Utah Code. We're under Title 17B. And if you go to the very first section, it says basically what is a special district, and these 4 items are listed. And it basically defines what a district is. So I'm going to go through each of them individually. The first one, a limited purpose local government entity. Taking that into 2 parts. The local government part obviously means that it is a government entity. It's not private or nonprofit. It's part of Utah's system of government. It isn't like an investor-owned utility, like Rocky Mountain Power, for instance, which is a private company. This is a government entity. It's not a private utility hauler like Waste Management. Some utilities are just service providers. Others are actual governments. We are a government. So that's what the local government part. The local obviously means state government. Limited purpose. Unlike cities and counties, which can do many things, they do land use, policing, court, zoning, licensing. Special districts can only do the specific services that it was created to provide. So it is not a general purpose government, it's a limited purpose government. On the plus side, many advocates of districts love how this works because it means that we can provide the best transparency for our residents. Everything we do is for that one service. All the money that's collected goes to that one service. We don't have to compete with other departments for budgets every year. Okay, the next one, a body, corporate, and politic with perpetual succession. These are all legal terms, so I want to kind of go into it a little bit. So in short, this just means that the district is its own legal person under the law. You're all familiar with the idea that corporations are people, correct? I think it's pretty important. This is kind of just that same concept, is that we are a legal person, a legal entity. It can act in its own name. So the corporate part, that's the part about the district as a legal entity in its own right. Like other non-human entities, nonprofits, S corps, LLCs, can own property, enter contracts, borrow money, sue or be sued. Politic, that means that this special district exercises government authority and public power. It's not a private business. It's not a private corporation. Perpetual succession means that special districts continue to exist over time. Even as board members change, staff change, boundaries of cities or counties change, politics change, none of that matters. The district is in existence. It is a perpetual existence. They do not expire. That said, there is statutes that relate to the dissolution of districts. That's, you have to go through the statute that doesn't come back. Okay, the next one, a political subdivision of the state. Means the districts created by the legislature and exercises authority delegated by the state of Utah, not by cities or counties. We're a subdivision of the state, not a city or county. Political subdivision means the legislature itself recognizes us as a unit of government. For instance, things that are not political subdivisions, a city public works department, a county sanitation division, mayor's office, private waste hauling company, nonprofits, investor-owned private utilities, again, that Rocky Mountain Power example, even though they're regulated by the Public Service Commission, community councils, task forces, those are all examples of entities that are not political subdivisions. And the last one, separate and distinct from and independent from any other political subdivision. So district is its own government entity, it's not a branch or a subdivision of a city, county, or other public entity. It operates independently from the city or the county that created it. And it operates independently from any other jurisdictions that may participate in it. Like with our board, we have all your cities, you're coming from your cities. We are not a subdivision of those cities. We're operating completely independent. Okay. Sorry, I spent a little bit more time on that slide than everyone else. Let's move forward. Local district or special district. I include this because you'll see both terms thrown around. historically, like very historically, we were always known as special districts, and that's the term that you'll see across the United States. There are over 400 special districts in the state of Utah. The oldest one was started by, I think, Ben Franklin, and it was a banking district or a library. I can't remember if it was a library district or a banking district, but either way, they're very historic and they're all over the country. At one point, our legislature decided to change the name to local district because there was some confusion between special districts and special service districts, which are different, and I'll get into that in a second. So they're like, well, let's change it to local district, then there's no confusion. But then that caused problems because the federal government doesn't know what a local district is, and they don't treat us as a special district like they treat everyone else. And for instance, when COVID hit and ARPA funds were being given out, they didn't even know what we were. And so we had to like get it changed back to special districts so that we can be like fully understood by the federal government as well. But both terms refer to the same entity. You might still see some old documents that say local district, but same thing. Okay, next slide. This is what I said. There's a difference between a special district and a special service district. So now we're back to having that confusion. Colloquially, you'll hear people say special service district all the time. Technically, they're two different things. Special service district is under Title 17E. They are created and controlled by the city or county that created it. They are not fully independent. They are still under the purview of the city or county that created it. A special district is under Title 17B. That's what we are. We're the completely independent. Next slide. So for some history of this organization, we were actually originally created as a special service district under Salt Lake County. And the county was able to appoint what was called under law an administrative control board, but the county still held authority, and they could have revoked that power at any time. They could have taken away the administrative control board at any time. So in 2022, we went through the process to convert to a special district to be completely independent, which was the intention of lawmakers for quite some time, and just kind of finalized that process. So now we are fully independent as a special district. Okay, next slide. To really drive the point home, I know I've already said this, just to kind of get a visual of how this works. Special districts are political subdivisions in the state of Utah, like counties, cities, and towns. We're on the same level of those other entities. And this is a highly simplified slide. There are obviously other types of entities out there. But just to kind of point out that we are co-equal. And for instance, like our property taxes, not this organization doesn't do property taxes, but districts that do property taxes, they're on par with cities and counties' property taxes. They have the same priority. Okay. Types of special districts. This is just for curiosity's sake. If you go to Title 17B, you can be created as one of these different types of special districts. And then so within 17B, there will be a separate code section that applies specifically to these districts. So there's going to be a section that applies to all districts. And then additionally, you get your own little special section that might have special rules just for your type of district. We were organized as an improvement district. Typically improvement districts, you see our water and sewer, but we picked this one when we were doing the conversion because it allowed the board to be composed the same way that it had always done. Whereas if we moved into a different type of district, it would maybe upset the board situation, which I'll get into again. Okay, next slide. 5 minutes. 5 minutes. I'm almost done. Special district may provide up to 4 of these listed services. By law, you can only do up to 4, but we only have 1, garbage collection and disposal. But just to kind of give you the scope of what sorts of things special districts are doing in the state of Utah, there's the list. Next slide. Service area geography. This is again coming straight from code. Service areas may cross city and county boundaries, as you can be aware by this district itself. We're not limited to being within one city or one. This one is within one county, but we've got districts that cross county boundaries. Service areas don't need to be contiguous, so we can have a patch over here and a patch over there and still be one district. Properties may exist within multiple jurisdictions. So when you get your tax bill, you're going to see that. You're going to have taxes from Salt Lake County. You're going to have taxes from the school district. You're going to have mosquito abatement district, water district, sewer district, and we don't do tax. But if we did, you'd see us on there. Powers of special district, again, this is straight from the code. It says the things that we can do: sue and be sued, own real property, borrow money, issue bonds, levy taxes, impose service fees, enter contracts, and construct works and facilities. Revenue limitations of districts. Districts only get revenue from property taxes or service fees for the most part. Impact fees, and there's a couple other little things. Our organization doesn't do a property tax. We're completely fee-based. But the point being is we can't do sales tax, income tax, road fees, transient room tax. We don't get any of that fun stuff. So we're limited. Next one, Board of Trustees is the governing body of the special district, and it exercises the legislative authority of the district. So this is the legislative body of this organization, similar to your city council or county council. Authority derives from the statute, not from the appointing entities. The only thing that your appointing entities do is appoint you to this board. They're not involved in the governance of this. Okay, next slide. As far as this board in particular, here's what our board composition looks like. And this is going back to that slide that I said that there are different types of districts. Each one, if you go to their special part of the code, will say, how does this board get created? And many districts have directly elected boards. You'll see that with your water and sewer districts. You'll elect, a 3-member board, and they're directly elected by the citizens. Other districts have appointed boards, and so for whatever reasons, the power at be decided that some of these districts that are maybe multi-jurisdictional, sit on top of many areas. It just makes sense and is easy to say, well, let's just have each city and the county appoint someone. Salt Lake City Mosquito Abatement District is another example that's different. They have an appointed board as well. Salt Lake City appoints their board, but they're not elected officials. They're, they can pick anyone that's an expert. They've got PhDs from the University of Utah and things like that. So there's different ways that boards can be created. It just so happens that this one is created in this way, where each one of your entities gets to appoint. Okay, you can't appoint proxies. I only put that in there because I get asked all the time, if I can't be at a meeting, can I send someone else in my place? No, this is a public official positions with the same authority as, your city council position. Legislators aren't sending proxies to go take votes for them. That's not allowed. And it's the same thing here. This is not an informal board or committee or task force. This is a government body. You're a public official and you can't send proxies. Fiduciary duties of the trustees. Next slide. Trustees owe a fiduciary duty to the special district, which is a legal and ethical obligation for the fiduciary, you, to act in the best interest, financial interest of the district, putting the district's needs above your own, involving loyalty, care, good faith, and avoiding conflicts of interest. So you're not here to just, benefit yourself or your companies or whatever. That's true of all government entities, by the way. Okay, 2 more slides. I'll be real quick. Board role versus management role. I put this one in here because it is also one that comes up a lot with me in my practice and questions. What's the difference between the board and management, and what are your responsibilities versus Evan's responsibilities? Board's in charge of policy direction, budgeting, setting rates, approving major contracts, and overseeing the general manager. The management, Evan and his team, are responsible for the day-to-day operations, staff supervision, vendor management, and implementing the policy that you set. It's really important that we get this right, because if it goes too far in either direction, it's a problem. If we have a board that's a rubber stamp board that doesn't really, you don't read your package, you don't come and participate, you don't ask questions, that's not a healthy situation. Likewise, it's not healthy, and we've had this issue with boards before, if you're coming into the office every day and talking to staff and telling them what they should do and telling the manager how he should do his job, like that's not healthy either, and that's not what's intended. We've never had a problem with that. I put it in there because it does come up a lot. Very last one, required board member training. You are required to receive general board member training once per term within the first 12 months of your term. Terms by statute are 4 years. And that doesn't always end up actually happening with your organizations because you get appointed or replaced or whatever. But for our purposes, your term is 4 years. You need to do board member training once at the beginning. And then if you remain on the board longer than that, once you hit that 5th year, you need to do it again. This can be done in 2 places. One, on the state auditor's website. They have an online training you can do. And you'll get a certificate. Once you do that, send that over to us so that we can record that. Or if you go to the UASD, the Utah Association of Special Districts Annual Convention every November, they do a board member training, and by law, that has also been recognized as a valid form of training. So you want to wait until November and do that. And then you're also required to do an annual Open Public Meetings Act training, which can also be done online. But we typically actually just do the training here at one of our board meetings, because it's easiest to have a captive audience and just force you to do it. So we'll be doing that. I ran through that because Katarina was like eyeballing me. Any questions though? That freight train that I just went through.
Comments, but first questions.
Does anyone have any questions or comments? Evan, what would you like to add?
Yeah, that's what I appreciate, recognize Rachel for putting this together, super helpful information. As the general manager, I'm still actually trying to meet with, each of the new board members, but if existing board members have questions about organization or structure, what we do, how we do it, I'm more than happy to meet, with board members individually, or as part of the group, so long as we don't, to the quorum in those discussions. I did want to point out, so in this room, we actually have added our service by day map on the wall there. So it's helpful to see the areas that we're currently servicing, the collection days. This map actually has more detail as to where the materials are being transported to for disposition, for recycling, reclamation, for example, as well. I want to point out, this is where we are currently servicing our actual service area boundaries that Rachel discussed is a little bit larger and in some cases contiguous, but still does have separation between those areas. The resolution that created this district as a special district is actually included in the board packet today, which has a surveyor signed and sealed map that shows the district's entirety of its service area, which I was going to ask Rachel, so that would constitute our geographic service area, but in essence, this district's jurisdiction, correct?
Correct.
Okay. One other thing that I'd like to point out, as Rachel mentioned, that we do not levy property taxes. So this district operates solely from our user fees that we charge our customers for receiving service from this organization. So in essence, we are a sole enterprise fund. We are not a general fund that most municipalities where they get property taxes. So to point that out, that we're an enterprise fund. And as it pertains to the board composition within our current service area, West Jordan recently annexed the Oker Highlands, so as we have a new West Jordan board member, Zach. So we have currently within our service area 14 municipalities and towns, which comprises the 14 board members from respective cities, and then we have, of course, some unincorporated areas remaining in Salt Lake County, and hence Lori Stringham serving on our board from the county as well. That's all I have. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you so much, Rachel and Evan. Any other questions, comments, side remarks? All right. Conflict of interest and financial disclosure requirements. I don't know where we are getting those turned in. Rachel.
Okay, I'll be really quick on this. This is a new requirement as of last year, so those of you that were on this board last year have done this once for us before. Legislature passed a new law requiring all public officials from councils, commissions, boards like this, boards of trustees, to file the same conflict of interest and financial disclosures that legislature is required to do, making it the same for everyone. So the form, you've been given a form to fill out, and it's required to be done annually. So you need to update it every year. It's required to be done by January 31st. So you have a few more days left to get that done. It's required to be on our website. And I know people don't enjoy salad, sorry, but so let us know if you have questions about filling that form out.
If you think it's really hard, take a look at Mike Schultz's when you're done. He's got like 50 different corporations that he's part of. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I should say, another thing I failed to mention was, because all government entities are requiring this, if you've been asked to fill out a form already for your city, you can use that and send that to us rather than filling out a new one. We just need one, we just need something, so.
Do we send it to Katarina?
Yeah.
Please, thank you.
And I have hard copies too. Yeah, I said that, January 31st, so if you haven't done it yet, please get it done this week. And there's hard copies. Back here.
Yeah.
Technically, you're supposed to fine you if you don't turn it in. We're supposed to fine you $100, and I don't want to be in that business of enforcing it, so. Yeah, well, yeah.
Make Kevin's job easier this week, so just have to nag us. All right, then we have, consent, items, approving, our meeting minutes from November 17th, 2025. If I can get a motion to approve.
So moved, Anna from Taylorsville.
I'll second.
All in favor? Any opposed?
All right.
All right, okay, that passes. And moving on to business items, we have Evan's general manager's report.
Yes,
Before
thank
you
you.
move on, I just want to remind everybody that you also need to turn in your certificate of trainings. It's the first of the year and all the trainings that are required by our board are also due. So don't forget to get your trainings in as well.
I didn't quite catch what Lori was
She was talking about the board member trainings, which I mentioned in my
Oh.
presentation. The board member training is required once per term, so you may or may not need to do it this year. You have to do it once every 4 years. If it's your first year here, then definitely you gotta get that done this year. And if you have questions about it, ask us and we'll look you up.
Yeah.
And Bill is here. And there's a link also, I can send a link to the training online.
So Katarina will let us know if we need to get that done this week.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Oh, great. All right, okay, Evan's general manager report.
They took a minute of your time.
Thank you, good morning. So this is a little bit different than a standard report that I'll typically provide. I do a couple of very high level updates. We have successfully completed the seasonal leaf bag collection program. We're still crunching some numbers on that. In full, however, we are looking at that we hauled and disposed of more than 1,100 tons of leaves this season alone. Currently, we're actively, completing the curbside Christmas tree collection program that will end at the end of this month. So next month, we'll be bringing in more metrics and information that will kind of close out the year and provide more information on tonnages and trends, recycling, diversion rates, et cetera, and so on and so forth. So I'll bring that next month as part of my reports. The other just very quick updates is that we have moved forward and we still are actively looking at soliciting requests for proposal. One is for the withdrawal feasibility analysis for the Harriman City withdrawal request, and the other one is the line of service financial assessment by geographic service area. So we met with Harriman last week. We're planning to move those forward concurrently. They may not be completed at the same exact time, but we are actively pursuing those, and we're awaiting some hopefully final comments from Harriman City on the RFP that I had sent to them just for the weekend. So lots going on and a lot more to come there on that.
Evan, do you have a closing date for the RFP?
So we haven't actually solicited it yet.
Okay.
So we're waiting to hear back some feedback from Harriman.
Okay.
And then hopefully we'll be able to get that as an active solicitation as well. And once we have that available, I can share that with this board. So.
Thank you.
Awesome. So the next item is something new that I've been kind of thinking about how to really strategize the path forward with the organization as a whole. So but also a way to help us focus on items and help us to document some of the benefits and the initiatives that we're taking. So I've developed this kind of list with the team, which I'm calling priorities, goals, and initiatives, or PGIs, and this is largely intended to lead us forward strategically through calendar year 2026. And so this spreadsheet, my intentions are to bring this back on a probably semi-monthly basis, provide status updates. Also, we're hiding the columns on the right, which is fine, we don't need to scroll, Renee. But ultimately, for each of these independent items, in addition to the status updates, we're hoping to document the qualitative benefits that are achieved as part of these initiatives, but also to document the quantitative cost savings that are realized, any respective notes on those items. So we wanted to continually kind of update and track these initiatives that are split up into 5 major categories. So organizational, being a lot of board-related items, administrative being a lot of internal items we're pursuing, financial being a lot of items that Helen and her team are working on. Then there's an operational and a safety subcategory as well. And so the intent of these, and just to continue moving these items forward, is to continue to streamline our administrative and operational functions. Identify new and enhanced efficiencies, ultimately reduce costs, save monies that the organization is expending as part of its day-to-day operations, but also to effectively communicate with the general public, with this board, hoping that this board can liaison with your respective councils and update them on the things we're actively pursuing and the benefits that we're realizing as part of those activities. So this is still being developed on an ongoing basis. So this is the Excel file that we've created. This is also largely included in the board packet. I don't think there have been any updates since then, but a few items I just want to point out to and speak to briefly. If there's any questions, I'm happy to answer any questions that there may be. But for the organizational PGIs, something that we've talked about already is that we would like to, the staff will be looking at performing a comprehensive review and update of the board policy manual. The board policy manual is ultimately the policy that I work with the team on is learning how to develop SOPs and the ways in which we implement policy on an organizational perspective. And so that's one item we're looking to update this year through a comprehensive update. We'll definitely take some work and support from all of the staff. We'll be providing the board updates as we go through that, timeline updates, but also there'll be some legal support on some of those items as well. Org.2 is another item that the outgoing general manager spoke to. We haven't commenced this item, but it's looking at, so as part of this district's founding documents and resolutions and charters for what we're provided for the purview of services, we do have some service limitations. Primarily is that we can service up to a 4-plex. We know that this county and the communities for which reside within Salt County are growing, they're evolving. We're seeing a lot of multifamily developments. So we want to start looking at this from an economies of scale perspective, but also how can this district evolve with the changing landscape over time. So it's one piece that we talked about, Pam's final general manager report, things that we're hopefully continuing to pursue. So I'll be working with Rachel and the team on those items moving forward. That's one of the things that we'll continually bring updates back to this board as well. A few other items I'll briefly go over. Administrative 1.1. So we have a large number of SOPs for which me as the general manager, I'm authorized to sign off on, which are intended to identify the needs and mechanisms in which we adopt policies as per the board's policy manual. So one thing we're seeing now is that there's a lot of these various SOPs that sometimes are difficult to look up and fully comprehend and understand. So we're looking to actually consolidate several of those into a singular and fully handbook this year, which I think will have a lot of benefits for the team, for myself, for the staff, also for our management as well. Of course, we're still looking at data integration. The board will see kind of new data visualization techniques that we're working on throughout the year. And of course, the RFPs that I spoke about are a goal and a priority of ours this year to move those forward. From an operational perspective, we know there's a lot of discussion on scrap. That's the district's bulky waste management program. Next month, we're planning to bring a 2026 scrap season plan presentation to this board, so we can inform the board as to what our strategies are for that season. As most probably recall, we did increase our allocations for seasonal workers this year and increase our leases for the hook lift trucks. And so our goal this year, we've been trending on about 60 containers per day throughout the scrap season. In the past, our goal this year is to meet at least a minimum of 72 containers per day during this year's scrap season. And then if you can scroll down to 3.1, Renee. The other item we'd really like to look at, and this is area where I think we can identify a significant amount of cost savings, increased efficiencies, but also a way where we can really better meet service demand for the district's bulky waste management program. So we want to fully evaluate the scrap program, but also look at different means and methods for which the bulky waste program could possibly be performed in 2027 and beyond. And so we're doing a lot of research on that. Have a lot of great ideas that we'll bring to the board throughout this year. Renee is helping me with a variety of items, one of which is doing a comparison across what I've called the Tri-County area, Davis County, Salt Lake County, and Utah County, to look at what each respective municipality or service provider, how they're providing their bulky waste services through those communities, how they're funded, what materials are accepted and not accepted, and how that management program for bulky waste is performed. So that'll be really helpful with our respects in evaluating those. I'm excited to look at this and bring more information to the board. And again, I think a way that we could hopefully show significant cost savings, increased efficiencies, but really to maximize our capacity, this district's capacity to better meet service demand throughout our service. And then one other final item I'll speak to is Op 3.5. We have seen continuing increases in our basically our fleet repair and maintenance costs throughout the past several years. So we're also, I forgot to mention, listing benchmarks on each of these items where we have them. Some of the highlights we're still fleshing out some of the benchmark data, but we also are seeing, currently we contract out with Salt Lake County. We have a lot of synergies as part of that. Our yard is shared with the county fleet department, in essence, where we dispatch from. But we are seeing increased costs from them, from their rate of labor and markups, but also our fleet and our trucks. Since COVID, we kind of fell behind in our replacement schedules, and so the older these compressed natural gas and also diesel trucks get, which we have very few diesel trucks, more expensive repairs become. So that's one piece we're really starting to look at, and we'll be kind of deep diving into those costs this year in an effort to ultimately reduce our repair maintenance.
Just for clarification for the new board members, when you said fall behind because of COVID, it had to do with getting the orders delivered, not that we were delinquent in making orders or funding. So it's more of a market delay.
Correct. Market supply for refuse trucks was significantly impacted. But also since that time, a replacement refuse truck has gone anywhere from roughly 300,000 to we're over 400K per replacement truck currently as well. So there's a lot of increased costs just on the capital replacement fees as well. So thank you, I appreciate that clarity. And then the final item we're building out is the safety piece, and we know that safety, this is a very safety sensitive industry that we work in, especially in transportation. Collection of trash and recycling, but also it does affect our cost of insurance, our premiums, the time for which we spend processing incidents and reviewing claims, workers' compensation claims, for example. But a big piece is really to enhance this organization's safety culture. That's a big initiative I've been leading with the team as well. We do have a health and safety plan. We're planning to look at that this year. We do have some metrics on what's called our EMOD, and maybe our insurance provider can present on that later this year. But we insure through the Utah Local Governments Trust, and they largely insure public sector throughout the state of Utah. EMOD is the experience modifier, and those numbers are based on a 3-year average, but they're based on a number of losses and claims that this district submits on behalf of them. So we have seen some reductions from 2022 to 2025, with an increase in 2023. We have not received our 2026 numbers yet, but our intent is to try to continually reduce that through a lot of safety training, culture enhancements, looking at our health and safety plans, for example, as well. We're also planning to look at our drug and alcohol testing policy as operators of commercial motor vehicles. Our drivers do require CDLs, and those require random drug and alcohol testing. So we're looking at that current policy as well, which we will likely bring back to the board. Our third-party drug and alcohol testing provider does have sample policies for that, which are DOT reviewed and legal reviewed and vetted, and we'll look at that here in the near future. And then, of course, as we've discussed in the past, and still is an ongoing work in progress, we do have a lot of collaboration, communication points of contact with respect to emergency response readiness, training, and programmatic planning. So Shane Norris, who's our safety and health and emergency response coordinator, we will continue to work with him on all these initiatives that all continue to lead and spearhead from an organizational perspective. And we are planning to have program-specific presentations to this board, at least 4 this year as well, and one of those would be our safety and health programs. Thank you for hearing me out on that. If there's any questions on this, and this is a rather large and comprehensive list of lots of information, I just really want to set the stage for the year, continually kind of track our progress and the benefits both qualitatively and quantitatively for our cost savings as we continue to pursue increase efficiencies and optimize our program services.
I just want to get up really fast and just say thank you. I think this is very helpful. It's good structure to track these things. I'm particularly excited about, as I'm sure we all are, is looking comprehensively at STRAP regionally as well. I think that's something that all of our communities care about. And then also looking at our charter and making sure we stay current with the changing landscape of housing that we're all dealing with in our respective cities.
30 seconds to go.
We're a little ahead.
That's great. Thank you, everyone.
Is that everything for your presentation?
Yes, that's what I have planned today. Not because we're taking stuff. But there's items that we should perhaps look at as part of this. Feel free to let me know and build those into this spreadsheet that we're still building and developing.
Great. All right. So we're going to have Helen go over our Q4 financial reports.
Okay. I just wanted to first point out that this is a preliminary report. This is, of course, the end of the year, December 31st for our fiscal year. And there are still entries that need to be done. There may be some invoices still coming in. So these numbers will change a little bit before our finals are released and all of that. So just keep that in mind that it is just preliminary. Yes, looking at the revenues, thank you. We're doing pretty well on revenue. We came in at 5% of what we expected. You'll notice that our budget was 27 million for residential waste collection, but 29 million for actuals. And we've talked about that before, but I did want to point out again that was because we budgeted on the cash basis. They closed, of course, on an accrual basis, so that's that big thing. Other things we wanted to point out, revenues did come in higher because of the fee increase that we implemented at the beginning in January. And that was a necessary thing with the cash position. And there is a slide about cash at the end of this presentation that was going to show how we're starting to recover because of that fee increase. Moving down on revenues, I think that's all that's notable there. When I go to the next slide, we have our personnel expenses here. And during this year, we did a RIF at the beginning of the year where we did cut off some positions. We made a few other personnel changes, and that resulted in budget savings on personnel expenses of $1.7 million for 2025. Again, preliminary numbers, there are still some increases. You'll see here 368 and the O down there that are at 0 for actuals to date. That's because we still have to do those entries. So the bottom line here will change, but the changes that we made through the year really did make a significant impact. In addition, overtime is down $135,000 from where it was in 2024. And that's mostly attributed to the fact that we were close to fully staffed for most of the year this year, but in past years, made some adjustments to pay in 2024 that helped correct that. In addition, we changed to PTO, which really having an impact on this overtime. where people might be paying attention to when they actually take leave. And then, we have our Apple program, which we changed to a cash incentive program. And there are more people under this year for that, where if they have unscheduled leave, it counts against them, so they're not eligible for the incentive. And so we don't have to, if they have unscheduled leave, we might have to call somebody in and pay them overtime for that. So I think that contributes a little bit to this $135,000 as well.
If I may, just real quick, I want to recognize David Ika. He's our operations manager. He's gone a long way with driving down our overtime expenses. So I want to recognize and appreciate him for that. But all the team helping to track and minimize that as well. And a big part of how we're keeping overtime so low, in addition to those ongoing efforts, is the way in which we schedule our drivers and operators. We run, they run primarily almost entirely on 4 days per week, 10-hour shifts. So instead of having 5 days a week with 8-hour shifts, we're often through a lot of overtime. Even before I started in reviewing our budget, this is impressive from a solid waste management perspective and collections perspective. Typically, overtime expenses constitute about 10% of your overall wages for organization. We are well below that. This number is quite impressive. Temp labor, the line below that, we were only about half of expenses, and this is something that we're going to be strategizing this year. It's really what hinders our ability to meet the service demand for the scrap programs, being able to recruit and retain seasonal riders for that program. So that's another piece where this organization, naturally with CDL drivers being high demand, is an ongoing challenge. And so we'll be strategizing that this year. And then for the 2027, we're looking at is possibly not even have to rely on the seasonal workers, potentially.
Yeah. The next slide is the rest of operating expenses. And you can see here that the bottom line is, if this were the actual numbers, which they're not, they're preliminary, we would be adding $5 million to our net position, which is fantastic. That will not still be based, of course, at the end, but we still will have a healthy addition to our net position once we do all of our entries and once everything is in. Fuel prices were down over 2024 this year by $152,000. And that was due to lower fuel prices per gallon for this year and fewer miles driven in 2025. Maintenance costs increased by 12% over the same time period. And delays in receiving new trucks have required the districts to continue operating older vehicles, which require more frequent and constant maintenance. In addition to that, rising parts prices and shop labor also contribute to the increase in maintenance costs. And that was, as you probably will remember, one of the points that Evan made on his list of PGIs we're going to work on is bringing down those maintenance costs. Other than that, on this slide,
Helen,
yeah,
just really quickly. Fewer miles driven, is that because of efficiency or did we lose?
I'm sorry.
Or did we lose an area or something?
We did not. That is because of efficiency. We implemented the price of proximity model, and which optimizes ticket locations and lets us drive fewer miles. And so yes, I believe that's what the kudos was.
That's awesome.
Great news for that. Okay, if we go to the next slide, those are our capital expenditures for 2025. Again, I know we discussed this before, but we did budget for 8 CNG trucks. We ended up ordering 8 diesel trucks. The CNGs came in at a higher price than we even budgeted, and we saved $27,000 per truck than what was budgeted by going to diesel, and $50,000 per truck was the difference between what the quote came in at and what the diesels were. So we saved quite a bit by going to those diesel trucks for the year. And we did finish the purchase of a scrap forklift truck in 2025. That line item was, we went over by $6,400. We knew that was going to, because of the increased costs. That line item was on the carryover list going into 2026, but it will be taken off because that actually was in the being purchased in December. So there we are with capital purchases. The next slide is the maintenance costs slide with comparison over the last few years, and we can see those increases that we just talked about. You can see the larger increase at 12% from 2024 to 2025 for the same reasons we just discussed. Go to the next slide, please. And here's the fuel slide, and that shows the lowest cost for fuel within the last 5 years from 2021 forward. And this does mention the price of proximity model that we just discussed. And that reduced mileage by more than 150,000 miles in 2025 compared to the average of the previous 4 years. So it was a really good reduction in those miles, saving us quite a bit of money. Go to the next slide. These are the commodity tons, and this December, and this shows us that, and it looks like there's a bit of a shift from recycling and green waste into garbage, unfortunately. But there could be other factors affecting this. We do have lighter loads now with recycling cardboard and different items that are being recycled. And these are also likely affected by economic trends, weather, and other factors. The average tipping fees paid by WFWRD are $36 per ton for waste, 44 per ton for recycling, and 17 per ton for green waste. Those have been pretty consistent throughout the day. You can go to the next slide. Thank you. Here I just combined what was probably 2 slides into one. But on the left-hand side, we have our customer refunds only for the 4th quarter of 2025. We had 37 refunds totaling $9,645. There are a variety of reasons for those. We did have one trailer refund. They ordered the trailer during the year and we couldn't place it in their driveway where they were going to be able without damaging the driveway. And so they rejected it, of course. And so we were refunding the money for that. We did have a couple people on the paid in error line on the check refunds who paid their mortgage to us. So of course, we refunded those back to them. And we had some people who overpaid, just paying with those accounts. So definitely excited there. And then the other table is certifications balances as of December 1st. When we have past due accounts, we are able to certify them. We do that once a year where we send that information to the county treasurer. They add it to the property tax levy. And so for 2025, at the bottom of that list, we can see that we certified 13,682 accounts for a total amount of $3,141,000. In December, we received $2.5 million, which included most of that, and then could have included some from prior years as well. You can see the over balances for those prior years. And we now have 846 accounts outstanding for $227,000 for 2025. Total outstanding certifications was $352,000. There are no questions on that slide? Yes, please move forward. Thank you. And this is the last slide in the promised cash balances slide. The gold line and yellow line is 2025. The gray line underneath it is 2024. So due to this increase that we did for cash position, it is helping. We're recovering a little bit from that. We're still below the general trend lines from years prior to 2024. But with monthly billing, we put that line will move up into more comfortable space that it has been in the past. So we're doing quite well, I think, on cash, recovering for more for cash position. And that's my last slide. Are there any questions or comments about the financial report?
All right, thank you so much. All right, next item on the agenda, Evan and Kiesler, it's about some job and title updates, market analysis, and then reclassification of some positions.
Yeah, I'm gonna hand this off to Hazel, in just a quick second. I guess just to reiterate, the financials are looking pretty great at this time. So we were about 5 million in the black last year. That doesn't include, the capital purchases, and we do capitalize those new trucks and appreciate them. But things are looking really great for us financially. Another new thing for some of the existing board members, but also for new board members, we started to develop these agenda item summaries as part of the board packets. So we'll continue to do that this year and throughout the year for the relevant discussion items. Hopefully these are a really great way that you all can become informed and be as readily available and ready for questions during board meetings as well. So these would be great tools, and we'll kind of adapt these and evolve the way that we're presenting information. The ones today are a little bit lengthy in some cases, but hopefully these are a good tool for the board to resume forward. I'll pass that up to Haley.
So this morning, we're asking for board approval to update the district's pay plan with new job titles and new pay ranges for the customer service staff. A little bit of background on this. The last few years, the customer service staff have taken on new responsibilities. Our membership, the residences, the neighborhoods and more people living in and out. They really are the front line of our office staff. And I know in the past the board, and we appreciate very much the board supporting our equipment operators who are the operations front line in looking at their pay and making sure that we are competitive. So this started in December of last year when we started looking at the actual job descriptions. Renee and Yale have been very full in reviewing the job descriptions, and some things are taken out, some things added with the new board. So yes, their job descriptions have evolved over time. As you know, they have walking traffic and lots of phone calls throughout the day. They are talking on the radio. It's a very busy front desk area. So when we received the job description updates, we reviewed those, and we also thought that it's necessary to update the job description titles. So we're changing it from customer service representative to customer solutions specialist. And then the manager's position will be customer solutions and communication technology. And we think these title changes really more accurately reflect what they do. So after the job descriptions were finalized, the next step was to contract with independent compensation consultants. And we worked with Melissa Potter with Contract Solutions. Actually, we invited her to engage to know if you have any questions about the methodology that she uses to come up with the market analysis. So Melissa has recommended the midpoint of the pay range. Renee, can you pull up the pay range chart? Present?
Yeah, it's a few slides down. Or a few pages down.
So, while the board doesn't approve job descriptions, it is the board's responsibility to approve the pay plan. And as you can see here, the pay plan, we have all the different job titles, and then there's a pay range. Melissa has recommended that the midpoint of customer solution specialist move up or increase by 7.5%. That the manager, Ira, the customer solutions and communications technology manager, that the midpoint of the range would move or increase by 4.7%.
What is up here, is that original or is that what's being proposed?
So the yellow highlights are representing the customer solutions, or the CSRs, or now what we're proposing as the customer solutions specialist. So the one in red font is the current existing, and we're proposing the specialist, which is shown above. The manager position is in the. The red font is current, and then the one above that is what we're recommending for approval.
How many positions is that?
We have 5.
Five?
And then 1 manager.
So the total impact to the budget for increasing those 5 for county manager is 28,412. And that includes benefits. Does anyone have any questions?
I have a question. Are you able to hear me?
Go
This
ahead.
is Mars. Okay, and I'm sure that you have explained this, maybe I missed it, but the discrepancy between the 28,000, sorry, I'm scrolling back up to where that was, to get the amount right. The impact, okay. 28,412 would be the cost of these changes, but then under budget cost on page 55, it's showing the impact at $22,549 right there. Yeah.
Yeah.
What
Thank
is
you
the
for-
difference there?
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. The 28,412 includes changes to benefits. It's the salaries and the amount that we pay for, you are retirement, for example. That amount goes on this time. So the fully loaded cost is that
Okay.
28,400.
And you're saying that 28,412 amount is total for across all of the employees that would be included in these adjustments, by changing the role title. There are financial increases to those employees, and those increases come to a total of, including benefits, 28,412 across all of the employees highlighted.
Yes, that's correct. That's the 5 customer solutions specialists and the change to the customer solutions manager.
Okay,
Or-
perfect.
Sorry.
Thank you for clarifying.
Sorry about that. Helen, you probably already said this. So that 7% increase does include the 3.5 COLA, or it does not?
It does, it's built into
Okay.
it. So it's a very complex analysis that Melissa Cotter did, and maybe she can do a quick highlight on that. But then the other piece is that, so this board in the past has adopted a compression matrix to where people are placed within the range based on their experience, credentials, education, for example. So when a market reclassification is performed, that already builds in the 3.5% COLA. So this would be the new pay range. They would also already kind of incorporate that independently, but it's based on the full market analysis. And then if this new pay range is approved, we look at each of the staff members' experience, education, credentials, et cetera, and then place them within the new range solely based on that compression matrix. So we've already done those calculations and looked back at the existing staff members' experience. And so by calculating that with the adjustment, the 20,000 is already after the 3.5% COLA has been applied this year already. So that's the additional cost that we will be incurring, all things considered. Does that make sense?
It does, thank you.
So just to clarify, this is just to acknowledge the changes that have been evolving within their position so that their title and their compensation reflect what they're actually doing. So that they stay, there are positions stay competitive. That
Absolutely. As I said, they're resolving issues with customers. Sometimes we get compliments, it's not that. Yeah, so billing questions, questions that we have. So they're also communicating with clients.
Yeah, they're actively working in our financial tracking systems as well, doing the video confirmation for the missed pickups, the rollbacks, for example. But we're anticipating a lot of additional call volumes that will hopefully dial back with the change for monthly billing that we're incorporating this year too. So yeah, just to look at what you're actually doing and looking at a comprehensive regional and Salt Lake metropolitan based compensation analysis for where these new ranges were identified. We left a lot of the details out of the board packet. It is a fairly involved and comprehensive analysis from this.
So do we need a formal motion or do we just need direction?
So we did put together a motion for action requested as part of this agenda item. It's on page 54 of the packet. I think you could scroll to that. We feel that that will cover a motion and action which the board decided to approve the recommendations. So.
This is Jared Henderson. I have a question. If I'm not mistaken, the board just went through the budget process, approved the budget in the December meeting. In my experience on other boards, running a business, etc., these types of things are generally done in that budget process. Why is this being done separately and the month following that budget approval?
Great question, and I guess the timing is less than opportunistic here. I think it has to do a lot with the transition from the general managers, from Pam, who retired at the end of September, and me kind of coming on board. But also getting to know the staff, getting to understand more of our administrative and operational support mechanisms. But also, this team and all of the other priorities the district has kind of taken throughout the year. We actually started looking at this in October, looking at job descriptions, and then kind of work with the team to finalize and update those. And so, long story short, we ran out of time to incorporate this as part of the budget. But we do feel that we can readily absorb these increased costs. It will go a long way with increasing and boosting morale for the respective team, which they've been on the very lowest end of our pay scale for quite some time, but also to helping with future recruitment, but also retention efforts for that team, which has seen a lot of turnover. As most folks know, if you more turnover, there's more training, and it's spending more time and money to get people on those. So hopefully that answers your question, Board Member Henderson.
More or less. I mean, I won't dispute any of those points, right? We value our employees and want to pay them appropriately, but I do feel that the doing these things properly in a clear, transparent way. There's a few red flags. If I were the public looking at this, we just approved a rate increase, just approved a budget, and now that we have extra money, we want to start paying people more. It really needs to be done as part of the process, the budget process. While the 28,000 might seem somewhat nominal, this kind of tends to happen throughout the year, and that's kind of how things get a bit bloated. So I just would point out that we really need to stick to a clear, transparent financial process, and just running out of time is a bit of an excuse in the transition, etc. I understand, but I would just kind of make the point for proper procedure as we look at these budget items in the future.
Noted. And did you have something for our
Stated and answered and stated.
Okay.
And this is we're trying to be more structured in this respect, and so we talked with Melissa Cotter that it may be time to do our full market analysis across all of our positions. We're taking on so much this year as it is that I don't think that would be a good thing for us to start looking at. Maybe in 2027 we can look at that. But we did go and take care of our customer service team, make sure that they're recognized with additional workload and some of the new things that they're taking on as part of new policies that, as I mentioned, we go back and video, but also They're much more than a secretarial position or customer service team. That's why they're actually actively creating, identifying, developing solutions. That's why we changed that solutions term for customers who call in. But also we are expecting to have more volume and more calls as we move to the monthly billing as well. But ultimately, just kind of, we wanted to get them to where we felt was a more appropriate pay. And understood what board member committees comments as well.
Well, I would just chime in and say, yeah, that may be a best practice, and it probably is the best practice to do your salaries and the budget and kind of view everything at once. That doesn't mean this isn't the right thing to do at this time. It may not be the best practice, but it might be a good practice. It might be, a notch below the best practice, but still not in the we're trying to hide something that's not transparent. Public meeting. The budget meeting wasn't any better attended than this one, so. I think we're all right.
Chairman,
Yes.
just a note. I think most of us, I know I have, many of you I've spoken with, have taken a lot of heat from our residents with the recent fee increase. And I think we need to be cognizant of their concerns that they can bid it out, cities can bid it out and get better pricing. And we've gotten, Evan has presented scads of information comparing that, and that we are a well-run organization. I also want to go back to what Jared said, is that we've increased those fees. Let's keep that low. And let's continue on this road of efficiency, but not lackadaisical about, well, we have the money, let's just put it where we can best use it. Maybe put that money away and do a rebate. I mean, I think I need to speak for my residents and for the city. And I want to see Woodward continue, because I think it's an excellent service and provides top-notch services to our residents that are well worth it. But I don't want to take advantage of our residents that are now paying $6 more a month plus monthly billing. And now I'm hearing, because it's monthly billing, it's costing more to have customer service because of all the questions that are coming in. And I'm sure that will slow down. I'm sure that will. But I know for the future, I'm going to be really cognizant of where these sacred funds go for our residents. That's it.
And those are all things we're actively looking at. One of the later agenda items is looking at ways to reduce the payment transaction fees with different means and mechanisms. We're looking at reducing our costs for administrating, printing, and mailing the monthly bills as well. But I'm also, based on the discussion, I want to point out that we're not asking for an increase in allocated expenditures as part of this. We can readily absorb that 28,000 with the existing appropriations for this year's budget.
Awesome. Thank you.
Really appreciate everybody's comments. And it's a good discussion, really good points to keep in mind and remember as we look at the way that we spend funds. Are there any other comments? All right, I will take the motion.
Sorry, this is Marcy. I was coming off mute. I didn't come off quick enough. I want to add upon what was just shared and just invite some feedback on, because I did notice and I love the fact that you included in the packet anticipated impacts and specifically impacts on the community. And you indicated increased morale due to improved interactions, et cetera. And so one option that I did not see in terms of potential motions or next steps that we could take as a board, what I did not see is this opportunity to indicate that these increases and the role titles, et cetera, are under consideration. But in terms of taking all things into account that have happened recently, giving employees, a heads up that this is being considered, and yet there's a process that the board would like to honor. I didn't see that necessarily represented. Is that something we're willing to consider so that we're being very transparent about the process by which this, and I am not questioning the analysis that has been put into this, but considering what some of my colleagues have shared, is there an opportunity to be really transparent about the process we are following, what analysis has been done, what the board is considering, but also being mindful of kind of the impact to residents and what we're trying to establish as an appropriate process by which changes, to the budget are made, and they're typically done within the annual budgetary review. So just adding my thoughts there as, is that something we might want to consider as a possible motion or an adjustment to the alternatives that you've provided here?
Board Member Hasley, I just want to clarify, so what exactly are you looking for additional information or transparency? Like, I guess I'm trying to understand, like, specifically, what are you proposing?
I'm not requesting any additional analysis or any additional information as much as in reviewing what is on the screen right now, alternatives for board consideration. It does not necessarily reflect, and maybe it's already inherent in what you have done, but communication with employees to let them know that these changes are being considered, these new job titles and adjustments to pay ranges, et cetera, but having them take effect January 25th, which today is the 26th. So anyway, I wonder if we should be considering a communication plan around process so that employees understand that this is being considered, but in terms of responding to what we've heard from some of the board members around, does this follow our process? Is this outside of our board process around budget, et cetera? I'm just wondering if that's something we need to consider is slowing down and signaling interest and signaling desire to make these job titles, but also being sensitive to residents and sensitive to honoring the process that's been established by which we make changes to budget. I'm not necessarily making that as a motion. I'm just indicating that I think our colleagues have made some good points, and how might we reflect that in our communication with staff?
Okay, I think I get what you're saying. How can we take what we discussed here today and adapt? We propose, maybe have any suggestions for what we're, are we, I'm trying to figure out where we're landing.
To me, it would sound like what Marcy was saying is almost a motion. So as a description of, we're potentially interested in making these changes, but it needs to potentially wait formal process. Was that not basically what you're saying, Marcy?
Well, I think it would depend on, obviously majority voice is what will carry this. And so I'm curious to know how what we've just discussed impacts the rest of the board members. I see value in moving forward with the motion that has been requested. I also see value in establishing some transparency around let's not adopt today, but let's indicate that a motion or a effort has been set in motion so that employees, because again, back to earlier in the document, the impacts of this would be morale. I think that's such an important consideration. And so I'm trying to balance the opportunity we have for improving morale with establishing clear communication around this is what's being considered, but it feels rather abrupt. It feels a bit out of cycle for when we normally make these adjustments. It's normally part of the budgetary process. So I absolutely see value in the motion as written and the action that's been requested. I guess what I'm trying to say is I'm leaning towards delaying a bit to come up with a communication plan so that the delay does not mean we're not going to do this. And the delay does not mean we feel, at least for me, I don't feel like further analysis is needed, but I do think it warrants some consideration of what's been shared by colleagues in terms of rates that have just gone up, and this is sort of out of the norm for process. So what will our communication plan look like, both with employees and with residents, to kind of strike a balance as to why this would be a move we're going to make that is out of the norm. So I guess I am sort of making that motion. It would fall more under option number two, direct staff to postpone. But what I'm asking for is not necessarily a more detailed discussion on financial impacts, because I feel that you've presented that well, but rather a communication plan. I think part of fair process is the ability to communicate why, what criteria was used to make the decision, how did the decision we make, how did it align to that criteria, and what can be expected moving forward. There's that's a lot of research around fair process.
Are you done? Board member husband? Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, did I answer your question in terms of what is under consideration? And I'm fine if you get outvoted.
That was very helpful in clarifying. Board member Barbieri?
I see what you're saying, Marcy, and it seemed like it may have been an abrupt change for these two positions. I think Evan explained why that happened, and I in my past experience on the board, it hasn't happened often. And I think any pay increases have really been very transparent with the board and with the leadership of WFWRD. I hate to make demands on them that are tied up in processes and systems and tie their hands should a situation arise like it did during COVID. We didn't have a choice. We had to increase it quickly to get CDL drivers. And I think if you put these things, if you give them a lot of restrictions and a lot of guidelines, it takes away their ability to do their job effectively. But I see where you're coming.
I think. Sorry.
No, let's have sorry, Zach, Jacob first, and then there was somebody online.
I think what's missing is a process. I think what Houseman's saying, and what others are saying in this is a market review is always a good idea to come to these, let's see if we're being fair. What we do in our city is we do a third of all positions every 3 years. So a third of all positions every year. So that every 3 years, every position is been reviewed and adjusted for market. So maybe putting a policy in place, not saying, yes, go market review everybody right now, please, I know you're busy, but maybe that's not the right thing, but putting some sort of future plan in place might satisfy the communication, requirements. Everybody knows their position is going to be reviewed at some point in the next 3 years or whatever. And maybe not hold this one up for that, but I think if we kill two birds with two stones here, I think might be putting something in place that.
All right. Was there somebody online?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, so I hear what everyone's saying. I agree that raising their pay makes sense. I think the noticing that goes out about the budget meetings to the public, would it be appropriate to have a similar notice that we are considering some cost of living, some pay adjustments and word it as such that, how it was worded, with the cost of living and whatnot. And then just send that out and give people the opportunity to come and make a public comment at our next meeting, and then we could vote on it accordingly.
Board Member Bullitt, in general, we only do the public noticing in that way when there is a fee increase or a tax increase. And I think it's similar with all of our cities, when there's a budget adjustment that can be absorbed within the current budget. I mean, we see this occasionally, like throughout the year, like, oh, this is gonna cost more than we thought it was. And so those kind of requirements or those kind of changes generally fall under, this meeting was noticed with this job description and title updates. This is made available to the public through standard procedure. So generally speaking, we don't go through that additional step when it is not increasing people's fees or tax.
Did that public notice indicate that there would be a pay increase as well?
It does.
It's on the agenda.
No, it's on the agenda, and then the entire packet that we're looking at is also public record.
Yeah, so just for clarification, when we do budgets or fee increases, the notice that goes out is just to say, hey, we're going to be doing a budget hearing, or hey, we're doing a fee hearing, and then if you want the details about that, we can get that to the hearing. And so that's really and that only goes out 7 days in advance. That's really not that different from what we do for our general meetings, which is also to just list on there saying, these are the things we're gonna be talking about, and here's our packet if you want to know about it. So doing a notice like that is not, like Emily was saying, not all that different from what we already do for our everyday meetings or monthly meetings.
We are getting a little behind. We've been ahead of schedule, and we've got some other actually very big items that we still need to cover. What?
This is Jared Henderson again. I'll just try to make a suggestion and kind of bring this around full circle again. For today, I think I can only speak for myself. I'm fine moving forward with this as is, right? These are important positions. I think it's obvious that this needs to be done. I just want to make the point, and I think maybe what others are trying to articulate as well, is that the optics don't look good, where we just approved a fee increase, went through the full budget process where these things are normally done, and literally the very next meeting made some major changes to job positions, not just descriptions. We're reclassifying them, reorganizing. As I said, it might seem like a relatively small amount, but the optics of doing it really outside the process don't really look good. So my suggestion would be that we go ahead and continue with this today, but it's not an emergency. And to avoid this kind of, bad look to the public, I think we need to have kind of an expectation. Someone mentioned a policy that this sort of thing is not done outside of the regular budget process. I think that's really the issue. It's not an issue of whether or not this needs to be done. It's just a matter of how we're going about it. I understand the timing and maybe not have, the transition in leadership. The points that have been made are good ones. But as someone put it, our job is to be stewards of the public purse, the sacred funds of the ratepayers. It just doesn't look good to make that fee increase, do the budget, and then the very next meeting kind of slip this in. So I would suggest that we go ahead and move forward with this, but that we kind of circle back and have some sort of discussion or expectation or policy that these sorts of things are only done within the budget process moving forward.
So I appreciate that. I think we're getting consensus. I think we need to move forward. Just as a point of clarification, the budget increase was not this last December. It was a year ago. But I think that the points noted as far as being responsible stewards are very important and relevant. I also think that Board Member Jacobs' comment about creating some kind of policy where we're reviewing these on a regular basis so that we have a system in place. So But it sounds like we have some consensus on moving forward on this today.
Lori has her hand raised. Sure.
If we can get one more really quick comment, then Lori can go ahead.
Yeah, just really quick. The only concern I would have is that if those who hadn't actually seen it before the meeting didn't get a chance to go through their packets, the only option things that we really have as far as obligation is to take this back to our entities and make sure we're comfortable as an entity, as a representative of our entity, and then coming back and voting on whether we're comfortable with that increase in the budgets. This is part of the process, and there needs to be some flexibility to it. I understand why you're asking for it. I personally have some thoughts on it that I'd love to talk to Evan about outside of this. But I just, as far as a budgetary process, this doesn't necessarily have to be part of the budgetary process, but it does need to be understood, and needs to be a discussion process, and there does need to be that back and forth between the entities that we represent and being able to come and vote and represent when we come to this board. So.
Okay, so so for clarity, this is not part of the budgetary process. Budget has been approved. This is not changing the budget. This is going to be absorbed by the budget. So the options, if you can put the options up again on the screen. Like I said, this is not the, I would say this is not even the biggest item that we need to review today. So if I can get a motion, our options to approve the new job titles and corresponding market-based pay ranges. And I would add with the recommendations that have been discussed here today as far as creating a policy annual review. I personally liked board member Jacob's suggestion of 1/3 every year, so that everybody's reviewed every 3 years. Or if we want to make a motion to postpone. So those are the two motions, if I can get a motion. Okay.
Madam Chair,
Yeah.
I'd like to make that motion as read in a motion action requested. Approve the new job titles in 2026 market-based ranges for customer solution specialists and customer solutions and communication technology manager position, and direct staff to utilize the district's existing profession matrix management to calculate individual pay market adjustments for incumbents of these positions. And further, as noted by Lori, this is not a budget adjustment. This is just as the board is responsible for pay increases to individuals. So therefore, this is not outside budget. And if it did, then we would make a budget adjustment later in, as already listed on your upcoming for June of other activities. Thank you.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Do we need to do roll call or are we? Let's do, voice vote. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, moving forward, Evan with landfill voucher program overview and fee waiver policy.
Yes, and so, hopefully we can keep this one brief, but if you haven't read the agenda item summary, so the landfill voucher program is something that our residents within our service area can request. We've optimized our online voucher request system with a couple of kinks we're still working out. However, we've gone back over the past 5 years, and as the current policy manual states that we're looking at this year, which the market analysis and reclass would be a great thing we can establish better in our policy manual as well. But we recognize that we are not in direct alignment with our policy manual, which states that that the general manager may waive fees and administrative amounts. And for the landfill voucher program, the voucher program shall waive fees for up to 2% of the number of households in each area or city for truck or trailer loads that require residents of the landfill. So the table there shows that we've actually redeemed for the past 5 consecutive years, we've exceeded that 2% allocation. And so we're looking at ways and provided a series of options here for the board's consideration, but ultimately to bring back some interim updates to the policy manual, possibly as soon as next month, to increase that percentage allocation. Renee has done a lot of work on this. We're optimizing our online request program, but we're also currently, the problem is that since we went online, and I think since COVID, our landfill partners, they have stopped tracking and providing information to us when a voucher is redeemed. They're not giving us the documentation as to what city it came from. So we've not been able to track what respective service area or city the vouchers were being redeemed from. And so Renee's been working with them and Yale to hopefully they can start documenting those, asking the residents, actually optimizing the voucher to include the city from which it was downloaded for based on the service address. So a lot of things to kind of look at, a variety of options here that we've provided. I'm recommending that we increase the cap amounts up to 5% just to make sure we stay in compliance. But with the provisions that we're actually looking at, the means and methods of the policy-based program, and this is essentially meant to offset if we can't provide a scrap service, the landfill voucher program. And by the way, we did get you all some Jimmy John sandwiches, so the meeting said it's a long meeting. If you don't know to grab a sandwich, you would order it that way for your time at this station today. But ultimately, we would probably want to refine the landfill voucher program once we can better optimize the bulky waste or the scrap program in addition to it.
So I've used that voucher program a couple of years ago. It asks for your address to the city. Are they not tracking it that way already?
We are internally, that's for what vouchers are
So
received.
are they giving them back to you afterwards? Like, let's say at the end of the month, they give them all back to you. So you can track where it's coming from that way. Is that how they're doing it right now?
I'm gonna defer to Renee, she's much more familiar with that, but we're not getting, the landfills bill us, but they don't give us any information as to where the voucher goes.
So I'm just taking the voucher, throw it away basically.
And then they bill us. But Renee's working on
Well, no, that's.
Yeah, so we converted to the digital program a couple of years ago. We were able to track who requested. But there's some limitation on the landfill's behalf on being able to track, okay, if they're coming in, city or they, so it was nothing on them. So since then, though, we have created a new way to make it easy for the scale house folks electronically to where they're just gonna be able to see, oh, this is for Taylorville, or this is for Turns. And now they're able to track the electronic versions and the paper versions. So yeah, that started, with Patrick and Jill, they've been great partners in this. We've started tracking that specifically now. So that's
So just to clarify, Evan, are you looking for one of these options listed here today? Or are you looking for board direction to continue to look at the ramifications of each of these parts?
So looking for board direction, we're recommending option 3 as part of the alternatives here. Which would be to amend the policy manual and bring back a provisional or interim update to the policy manual next month that can increase our allocations beyond at least 2%. So there's upwards of 3% would be a cost of the district of about $44,000 per year. Again, no budget adjustments. Up to 5% would be a cost of around $73,000 per year if those were all redeemed.
But, and right now, we're not sure whether they're all being redeemed, is that correct?
Correct, yeah, so we actually had, we hand out paper vouchers oftentimes at city council meetings, city town halls, when they goes to, I think, every Friday meetings and hands them out. Taylorsville's asking for, paper vouchers right now as well. So our limitations in tracking those have created some problems, but also, we've been trending downward, so 2024, we were 3.17% of households by the number of vouchers issued. 2025, we were 3.05, so we're trending downward on a year-over-year basis. Especially the online thing has helped to reduce misuse by contractors or duplication from particular households as well. It's kind of a tough one because also the policy manual says that we allocate a percentage based on service area or respective city. And so we can't even track, you know, those areas, but even areas like 4B Lane or Big Cottonwood Canyon, 2% will be one household, and we're exceeding the cap. So looking at provisions to offset those kind of unique.
But it sounds like what you're saying is what our current practice is, isn't in line with the policy manual. And so what you're trying to do is get the policy manual in line with the current practice. So it's not really a cost increase, it's more just making our policies in line with what we're currently spending. That
That is correct.
right?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, all right. So, we don't need a formal motion on this. Does anyone have any thoughts as far as supporting getting our policy manual in line with current practice?
This is Laurie online. I just say go and do, and let's get some language and get this basically stating what it is we're actually doing versus what we should be doing.
Great. Anybody else?
Was that a motion? I'm sorry.
We don't need a formal motion, so, unless we have anybody who wants to, speak out to the contrary, I think we would say, yeah, what Lori said, go and do what we're doing and make our policies, let's get our policies in line with what we're doing.
Agreed.
Anybody disagree? All right, okay. Move on, 4.5, waste tire post-collection facility.
Yes, this is a new one, so it's hard to bring so much to the board this month. You know, as I've continued to get up to speed on things and learn more about our organization, but also some of the limitations of things that cost us additional money, you know, looking at what ideas and what things can we potentially pursue. And so this agenda item summary talks about a variety of items, but I guess first and foremost, so our scrap program, our bulky waste program, we oftentimes have tires that are hidden in those loads. We're actually optimizing our agreement for scrap that's going to be much more specific and explicit as to that we don't accept tires. The existing agreement is not very clear on that front. And so, you know, last year and the year prior, we had inadvertently hauled 186 tires to largely Solid Valley facilities in 2024 and 157 tires in 2025. So in our partnerships with the county and various other you know, post-collection facilities, Patrick Craig, who is the county's solid waste executive director, they are kind of increasing the stringency of what they accept at the landfill tipping phase, but also the transfer station. And starting this year, he let me know towards the end of last year that they were going to be rejecting any loads of tires or requiring that if they see a tire hit the floor from our trucks, that our driver would be asked to physically dig that tire out, which creates a lot of safety concerns. You know, typically you don't want any sort of scavenging or actually even touching the materials that we're hauling. This waste can have diseases and all sorts of other physical hazards associated with it. And so, started to kind of think about this because I've managed waste practice at other landfills in my past, but also looking at, you know, this is a gap in a service that's not being provided in the Salt Lake County community, but also by us. And so the idea here is that, you know, could this district, in essence, enhance its bulky waste collection parameters, better restrict tires, but offer a on-call per request waste tire pickup from residents throughout our service area, or also possibly within Salt Lake County. Tires pose a lot of threats to human health, environments. You know, they breed mosquitoes and other types of things of that nature. But more importantly, and the other items that we're thinking about as part of this is that, you know, it costs us more to dispose of mattresses than we haul in the scrap program. It costs us more to dispose of freon-containing appliances from the scrap program. So if we were to really optimize that whole program, better minimize our costs for items that are not supposed to be in that scrap program to begin with, but still offer a supplemental service that would in essence be fee-based, that we have to go back and look at and start offering those services curbside upon request from our residents. This would be resident only. We can't collect commercial volumes, that would be quite a bit to take on. But to provide that option and that community service and benefit to our customers. So the idea is whether or not the board wants us to pursue this and possibly come back as our final agenda item today is to look at a mid-year perspective public hearing for some fee schedule adjustments that we'll talk about more as part of Helen's updates. But also the idea is here is that if we were to do this, it would not create, it started off very small scale. It would not directly impact our staffing or work allocations, our bin team or container team. Or something would be able to support this collection service, but also you know, our existing staff to support this. And ultimately, we would use one of our existing trailers that we're no longer using to store in one of our yards, which is an 18-yard trailer. Make sure it's leak-proof and tarp it, and temporarily store tires in our yard, working through DEQ to make sure there's no regulations we need to adhere to.
It's the chain, there's not like that.
Oh, something's taking over there. But ultimately, we've looked at vendors, so GSL Tires, like Liberty Tires, so ultimately we would be able to temporarily store tires, get them bulked and ready to go, and then direct haul them to the tire recycling facility at an optimal cost, reduced cost organization. Looking at making sure we can incur cost recovery as part of to be determined prospective fees that we would charge for a pickup service, but also on a cost per tire or mattress or putting on appliance, for example. This is somewhat common in other communities, not so much for tires, but we do know that there are legal dumping issues in Salt Lake County, and something to help to provide that community service and hopefully limit the cost to the residential customers as part of this. And largely this information is included in the agenda summary. So pause there. And
So just to clarify, so we're looking at adding services, potential tire pickup and mattress pickup that would reduce the fees that we get for illegal dumping in the scrap program where we're getting tires and mattresses there. But expanding those, like filling that gap in service. And we're not deciding that today, we're just authorizing you to continue to research it, to look at costs and what the fees would look like for service and going forward.
that is correct.
Okay.
And we do accept mattresses in the scrap program, but again, looking at all of those, you know, agreements and policies with those as well. And one of the points is that our scrap program, in comparison to other typical bulky waste programs, we're accepting a lot more in the program that is typically accepted in a bulky waste program. For example, construction demolition debris is typically not accepted in a bulky waste program. We're taking gravel and asphalt shingles, and so there's other things that we probably might want to look at in the future. But you know, mattresses are something we want to continue to support that collection. Free appliances, of course, are heavily regulated. There's you know, fluorocarbons that can enter into the atmosphere. It costs us more money to dispose of those and get those properly reclaimed, especially the customers that have those free materials on there. But then mattresses cost us more per unit.
So maybe then to clarify again, so if you had mentioned in this overview, like one of the things you're doing is this comprehensive review of bulky waste and scrap. But what you're seeing is right now that tires is like easy to identify low-hanging fruit. Is that a better way to summarize it? Okay. So we're looking at just continuing to research the possibility of adding this on as a service that Wolford provides to its service areas.
Correct. Come with a better operational approach and perspective fees that would be presumably looked at a little bit further later on this year.
Anyone have any comments?
I would say, you know, first glance, I think that's a great idea because as soon as you start rejecting things like that, they really just start appearing in little votes and people start hiding them because they don't have a way to get rid of it. So as long as we're looking at an approach to come at it with, okay, you can't do this in bulky waste anymore, but we do have a pickup service, right? Or we have a drop-off location, or we've somehow organized a way for communities to remove these items from their homes. I think that's great.
Yes.
Any other comments? I think I agree with Rick. I think looking for opportunities where there's a gap is always helpful, and that's gonna reduce our fees with scrap loads and then provide another service. I think that it's definitely worth looking into. So unless anyone wants to speak out against it, we'll support moving ahead on that. Okay. Item 4.6, status of merchant service, RFP and payment transaction fee consideration.
Okay. So as, we discussed, we would have for RFP for, payment services, trying to reduce costs for what we're paying our current vendor. We got 10 proposals back and conducted, a top four product demonstrations with our 4 finalists. After evaluating that, we did end up selecting a new vendor from our current vendor. The new vendor is called Clinton Pay. And that will result, if nothing else changes, that could result in an annual estimated savings, estimated on a monthly billing perspective of $139,000 per year in processing fees. To further reduce the corporate costs, the board did approve a payment transaction fee of up to 3% during the budget process, with the idea that we would come back and let you make a decision on what that was actually going to look like. We didn't know what it would look like because we didn't have a vendor selected at the time. So that's why we're back here now. We just barely begun with Clinton Pay. Our kickoff meeting is actually this Friday. So they do have to answer a couple questions for us, in order to confirm if they can do it, what we're going to propose that we want to do with the transaction fee. But as we go forward, they do offer a revenue neutral convenience fee model, and that's a model where they would charge the fee, they would keep the fee, and then they would not charge us any processing fees. So it's revenue neutral for us, it just takes it all completely unaffordable to spend with processing fees. And then if you go to the final slide there, I actually have an analysis of the payment processing fees and potential transaction fee scenarios. We have on the left-hand column the fee types. So we have our Zion's lockbox, which is when people send us a check, it goes to a Zion's lockbox, they scan it through the systems, they send it to BioWare, go back to our payment system, or our financial system. And for 2025, that second column there is what we actually paid in processing fees for 2025. So those total $490,000, almost $200,000. And that's on a quarterly billing basis. The next line item down is the payment vendor fees, and that's the vendor that we are choosing a new vendor for. The 2025 numbers, of course, represent what we pay our old vendor on a quarterly basis. And then the third down is card processing fees, because for credit cards, there's a merchant processor, and then there's the payment provider. So there are actually 2 fees associated with that. The next column over is what we project they would be for monthly billing in 2026 and going forward. And that they total $713,000. So we're anticipating a $300,000 increase there. All the fee scenarios that we're providing here are for transaction fees, customer transaction fees, and they are all based on a monthly billing basis with Clinton Pay, our chosen provider. So the first scenario that we would look at would be, do we want to charge a payment transaction fee from credit cards and debit cards only, so all card payments, but no ACH payments? If we were to do that, we did have during the process, I think, a shared vision of making sure that people had a fee-free option for online payments and other payments. And so that's kind of where this is focused, with the ACH payments not being charged a fee. And in all of these scenarios, check payments, bank bill payments where somebody goes out to their own bank and has the bank pay a fee for them, as well as obviously cash, would not have additional transaction fees. So all of those are always going to be fee-free going forward. For the first scenario, though, we did it on cards only. We would be recovering $487,957 from just the cards alone. that would leave the next column, 2026, of what we would absorb of those fees would be $375,000. And in 2027 and beyond, it would be $225,000. The difference between those two is that we project an April 1st go live date. So there's still a full quarter in 2026 that we're on the old system and paying all of those fees still. And then in 2027, of course, that would be the case at the end of the year. The next scenario, and this is the one that I would recommend, I think that everyone would agree with me, and this is a way to incentivize e-billing, because we've been trying to incentivize people to go on to e-billing and have a campaign to push for that, would be to charge the transaction fee on all payments for credit cards and ACH, except if they're on e-bill. Customers on e-bill and they pay with an ACH payment, they would not be charged the transaction fee. So hopefully that would incentivize people to sign up for e-bill. If that were the case, based on the current number of e-bill customers, which is 19,487, we would recover $531,000, paying $342,000 in 2026, and $182,000 in 2027 and beyond. I think probably some questions are kind of cropping up in your heads. If we look down below a little bit, you can see that the absorbed fee for ACH is 55 cents per transaction under that little table that says absorbed fees paid by WFWRD. So all of those ACH payments for e-bill customers, we would be paying 55 cents per transaction for those. But the rest of the credit card and ACH would be paid by the customer. And then in scenario 3, that would be where we just kind of carte blanche charged transaction fee on all cards and ACH payments. The free options would just be the checks and then bill pay and the cash. I don't think that's the ideal solution. We want a little bit more for free options for our customers. So on the revenue neutral model with Pay and every other one of the vendors, they set the transaction fee. So WFWRD doesn't go in and have a say on, but we don't want to tell the customers this, but we still want the revenue neutral model. The vendor will set the transaction fee. And what they've set it at for credit and debit card payments is $1.50 for credit card or debit card transaction, or $1 for ACH transaction. So that is what the customer will end up paying for their payment transaction in all of these scenarios. And that was actually the least expensive for not only WFWRD for today, but also for our customers. So it was something that came out. We did have some vendors, including the current vendor, who set them at $1.50 and $1, but it was 2.75% with a minimum of $1.50 or $1. So it could actually cost our customers more. We also want to implement an IVR system, which Point and Pay does, and that's an automated phone payment system. Right now, we do have a lot of phone calls coming into our customer service staff who are taking payments over the phone, so they're taking their payment information over the phone, putting it into the system. Obviously, time consuming. That's going to increase, of course, with monthly billing. So we want to direct people into an automated payment system instead, so that will save us some time and some money. There is no additional charge for that system to us, nor to the customer, except the regular processing fee, whatever we decide that should end up being. But for that system, what I would like to do, and I think everyone in the administration is in agreement, is to charge a little bit higher convenience fee if the customer calls and doesn't want to go through the ACE or through the automated payment portal, but they want our staff to take their payment information over the phone still. For that, I think we should go at least $2, but that can be something that's discussed at a later time. Just to determine the forgiving of our people for the payment. A lot of people just kind of look back and do this, but there are some people who do really good at it. So we're not sure if they can get that help. And of course, about all of this, we know that there have to be a pretty robust education outreach campaign, which we do find doing. That's something that we're coordinating with when we pay and our first discussion about that will be our meeting on Friday. Other information for that is provided is the 2025 payment methods. So you can see that in the pie chart and then in the bottom right hand table, Those are the ways people have paid us, the number of transactions and the percent of the total transactions that were paid by those methods. So 81% of people have paid online in some form. Checks to our lockbox is 13.7%. And then in-person and or phone payments are 5.4%. Are there any questions?
So I just have a question. So with scenario two, you said that we would cover, I just want to make sure, we would cover, all of the fees, for people who are using e-billing.
E-billing and ACH.
And ACH.
Yes.
Okay, so both of those would be the fee-free options. So, and,
Well, those together would be the fee option.
oh, you have to be on both.
Yeah, well, yes, I could be ACH, you could do a one-time payment or you could set up for automated payments,
Yeah.
but it would have to be ACH and not card. Because of the cost.
Yeah, no, okay, so if you're doing ACH and e-billing, that's your fee-free option. Okay, and then this fee paid by the customers at my point and pay, this $150 and one, that's what we were absorbing.
That is what the customer's paying. We are absorbing the 55 cents for every ACH transaction, but we're not absorbing the credit card payments or the ACH one-time, not on e-bill payments, or one-time for actually.
Not on
Not on e-bill payments.
Okay.
Yes.
But if you are on e-bill payments, then it's.
Yes.
Okay.
And if I'm a worker customer, I don't want to be on e-bill. Which is just crazy, but if I don't want to be on e-bill and I want to pay with an ACH, I'll pay $1 to make that payment. Or if I want to pay the credit card, pay that.
So if you do bank bill pay,
And okay,
that's gonna be a 25-cent fee or to
Yeah.
customer not?
yeah, that's a 25-cent fee that we absorb under all circumstances. So
That's how I do it now, I got you guys already set up and I just go and make it boom and pay it.
yeah, it's very popular to do that. In fact, 12.9% I guess of our customers are doing that right now.
That's,
So-
and actually, if I have it set up, it automatically just comes out, I don't have to worry.
And that's a fee-free option for the customer as well. We would absorb that 25 cents, which is what we do.
That's basically about the cheapest way to do
It
it,
is.
pretty much.
So that's, so to, oh, I didn't mean to.
I was gonna say, that's probably how we kind of want everybody to do it, if they have access to the internet, basically.
So included in, when you say ACH, you are talking about online billing and like,
I'm not talking about bank bill pay, what I would consider bank bill pay, for ACH. I'm talking about for ACH, you come into our website and pay with your checking account or savings account.
or set up an auto or, yeah.
Right, that would be an ACH that I'm talking about here. For bank bill pay, that's just if I go into my own bank and I tell my bank, please pay for this amount of money or, this amount of money every month, however I want to set it up. And the bank actually generates a payment from your account and sends it to us as though you wrote us a check.
And there's no fee on that, so we don't need to waive it, essentially.
Not for the customer.
Not for the,
Just for the
25 cents. Okay. But that makes sense that it's not within scenario 2 because
We can't
it doesn't need to be waived.
Impose that on the customer. Yeah.
Okay, great.
To me, it does feel like, because I remember the discussions we were having about this before, for those people who weren't here, because we really wanted to make sure that there were options that were fee-free, and weren't, and to me, it seems like we're doing that. That's fair.
Yeah, this to me, I read this as, these are convenient methods of payment for last minute transaction, like, oh, that's sitting in my building, I have a credit card, so I'm gonna wait, or, those types of things. Those incur a fee, and I've thought about it, so.
So one more question on the e-bill, so even if I still pay for my bank or someone else pays for the bank, it's still helpful to go to the e-bill just to save paper copy, right?
Right, and I will point out also, thank you for that, I will point out that, if we do incentivize customers to go on e-bill and people who aren't on it now, which I assume that they would under this scenario, sign up, we get an additional 17-cent savings. Because to print mail, we are 74 cents for fees. And so that minus the 55 cents that we will absorb at the ACH, it's another 17 cent saving.
Madam Chair,
How does this affect, because I'm signed up with Express Pay. So I got a nice little email from, says, hey, it's been changed, you're gonna see monthly billing. But is this process still with the same vendor, or are we changing vendors, and how is that going to impact everybody through it on Express Bill Pay?
That's an excellent question. We are changing vendors from Express Bill Pay to Point and Pay. How that transition is going to really work is something that we need to ask questions about and get answers for and get on meeting. I don't know exactly how that's going to work. They did mention it in the demonstration that they did. I don't remember all the details that they told us, and I'm not sure what all the details were there when we were having this discussion. The best way I would think to do it, and I'm not sure it's going to work out this way, is to just transition everybody, all of their settings on Express Bill Pay directly into Point and Pay, and just have a nice smooth transition that way. I am not sure it's going to work out that way. I'm not sure they will transfer the payment details. If somebody's on all the way to bring their payment details over. So that's something that we need to discuss with Point and Pay, but that would be the best solution. If they do it, that would be fantastic. I'm not sure it's going to be quite best.
But that's something that we'll, if that's the case, we'll have to just really do a lot to make sure everybody else.
Yes, and that's part of this education that we campaign.
Madam Chair, will you remind, when that takes effect? What is the time?
April 1st is our target.
Any other comments? Which scenario are we feeling like we want to support? We got two from, board member Zusman. We're okay with supporting scenario 2? Anybody opposed to that? Okay, looks like we have the board's, direction to support scenario 2. And then, our last item on the agenda, prospective mid-year public hearing fee schedule updates, relating to if we add some of these additional services like, waste tire. So it's not, just to clarify for discussion, say this is not a fee increase. This is an addition of services that would be fee for service, that we would be adding, so.
Yeah, there are a couple items. I mean, the biggest item that would require this is what we just talked about. So if we change for our payment transaction fee to up to 3% to $1.50 for credit card, $1 for online ACH, then this would be absolutely necessary. And so the idea, the goal would be to have this during, reschedule our March 23rd meeting to the afternoon hours. So we have a public hearing at 6 p.m. or sometime later in that week where we could be ready to implement this, as Helen mentioned, by April 1. A few other items that have come up throughout the year since we passed our original fee structure. One, so we did implement the late set out return pickup fee, which some customers have already taken advantage of. We learned that some customers also want, in some cases, an additional pickup, for which we don't have currently a fee established for. So we would just simply want to clarify that people wanted an additional pickup, subject to upon availability. It's not same day service. But we would basically, we want to add late set out return pickup fee, but / extra pickup fee. I just have that so it's clear in our fee schedule. That would be one piece to clarify as part of that hearing. We're also looking at some of our special services fees. The areas where we did the 5% this year, we had some portions of pennies that carried over. So the subsequent amounts we found out when we were getting ready for the year, they're off by a couple pennies in some cases. So we want to do some limited corrections, not an increase on those items, but also to potentially incorporate a waste tire service pickup and per tire cost as part of a new service potentially, but also, you know, up to and possibly including penalties for customers that put tires in their scrap containers, for example. So we have some leverage in driving these policies and driving behaviors that ultimately help us to reduce costs, but adhering to regulatory requirements, our landfill partners requirements, and not subjecting us to potential fines or additional costs as part of it. So we would provide probably more of an update on this in February, and then with the idea of scheduling and publishing a prospective public hearing, March 23rd or later. Then we could do our regular meeting business, start the meeting at 5 p.m., then do a regular business, open a public hearing at 6 p.m. And then hopefully have that established for the first, ideally. But we could reschedule that meeting March 23rd or anytime during or over the week, later in the week.
Okay, Betty, have any questions or concerns about changing the March meeting to a 5 o'clock meeting so that we can do the public hearing, so we can adjust these fees to implement some of the things we discussed here today?
What was that the emphasis?
Well, we would start our meeting at 5 and then the public hearing would be at 6.
Mill Creek has our city council, but I assume if you move into other days, you would hit other city council meetings, so
Yeah,
you don't have to.
I think that's
Good. So if we are the rare one that's on Mondays, then that probably does the least, impacts the least amount of people probably that Monday, so.
but, so you just would be.
Yeah, I'm just making everyone aware of that, unless there were others that also had major conflicts, but.
All right, well, unless I hear differently, let's put on that for, fee schedule updates, like for March. Don't believe we have a need for a closed session today. Does anyone have any other board business that we need to discuss? Okay, oh, sorry, was that a hand? No, okay. So just, if you want to look on the agenda for what we have coming up at next month's board meeting, there's a lot going on at Woodford this year that I think is very exciting as far as, trying to really, make sure that we're operating efficiently and effectively and more looking at ways to keep our costs low. Commissioners?
So moved.
All in favor?
All right.
All right, we are adjourned until next.
11:29.
All right.
Let's grab a sandwich or other food and drinks.
And
Right.
is really, you don't.
Thanks.